So, I just got back from watching The Batman 2022. This is a superhero movie from Warner Brothers, not going straight to simultaneous in theaters and their HBO Max. So, are the movie theaters back? I don't really think so. This is my first time in a theater in 2 years since I saw Shazam. And 4 of the last 5 films I saw in theaters have been superhero films. Now, I am going to keep this spoiler free, but I do want to tell you the first movie I saw in theaters was Batman 1989. And in keeping with Fry family tradition, went with my folks to see The Batman. And in keeping with my Batman viewing tradition, had to pee in the middle of the movie. Happened to me at Batman Forever in 95. Well, let's get into it a little bit. This is a very dark take on Batman. You thought Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins trilogy? Yeah, I'm starting it with the first movie. I'm not calling it the Dark Knight trilogy. You thought that was pretty bleak? There were moments of levity in those films. I didn't so much as sniff comedy, any kind of comedic relief or jokes or anything in this film. It was pretty heavy stuff. But you know what was appreciated? I won't get into the plot so much other than to say that I think this is actually better than The Dark Knight. A lot of people are holding that up there pretty high. I think there are mistakes on both sides, but at least the plot was coherent. This felt like a detective comics type story. In fact, I think that it's very familiar with the Hush graphic novel, that story arc. So the Riddler's big plan here, I was like, isn't that Hush? Isn't that... Seems kind of familiar, which is good because it's a good story. So to make the Hush movies actually a decent idea. R. Pat's as Batman, I go into this pretty tepid. I'm thinking, okay, I don't really like his getup. I'm not sure about the car. They never explain that his chest piece is removable and that it's the gun that killed his parents melted down and formed there. I mean, not that you need to know that so much, but in a 3-hour movie that could have been 45 minutes shorter, maybe we should explore that a little more. I don't really like how he has so much cheek showing on his costume. There's a collar to it, like he's Doctor Strange. But I think R. Pat's actually does a pretty decent job here. He doesn't change his voice for Batman versus being Bruce Wayne. And I think the reason he doesn't do that is he's already putting on a voice being an American accent. Now, all that said, this might be the best Batman movie because this is Batman for like 3 hours. You see Bruce Wayne for 8 minutes tops. Like, this is Batman being Batman. Batman saves people. Batman kicks ass. He does his no guns thing, but he lays down and whoops some butt. So if you want that in your Batman, I think this is pretty faithful. I think that Alfred needed some work. Yeah, I think Andy Serkis has actually done pretty damn good on screen when I've seen him. For years at Oscars, everybody talk him up for his motion capture work. And why isn't he being recognized? He's a pretty good actor. His Alfred is a bit of an ass. He does no butlering whatsoever. He's just riding Bruce Wayne, Batman, whenever he can. He's like, hey, there's some berries left on the table for you. Help yourself. There's another maid actually doing all that stuff, being the help in the place. They don't have Wayne Manor. They have a penthouse that is very gothic. Anybody should be able to figure out that Bruce Wayne is Batman in this Batverse. Whatever Matt Reeves is doing here. The cinematography was really lit. I mean, this, about every shot was really quite well constructed. I don't think that there's enough action here for everybody. A friend of mine actually said he's avoiding this film because it's not enough spectacle. There was, a climactic moment at the end. I don't think it's been necessarily spoiled by much. But speaking of spoiling, not that I'm getting into spoilers, where's the promotion for this movie? I have not seen a commercial. There might have been something during the Super Bowl. I haven't been actively avoiding ads. I don't watch nearly as much TV as before, but really the only marketing I see are the Russian bots. Whenever they're out in politics for the right, it's Russian bots. But whenever it's fan accounts championing actors or actresses of movies they haven't seen yet, we think that's okay, but I think that's really the marketing. Also, I noticed this weird thing in Instagram Reels. You try to put some music together, it really wants to suggest the music from this movie. I'm thinking paid ad spot in a way. Music was okay. There's a lot of this, is it Ave Maria or Ava Maria? Sorry, I'm not Italian. Not really so much into the opera crowd. But you hear that almost every scene. Even sung by Paul Dano's Riddler at one point. More on him in a bit. The score, don't. It's driving. There's a force to it. It's memorable, and that's good enough. Isn't it just memorable? The rest of the music throughout the film sounds pretty good. But also, Batman has this kind of stomp about him. The fear of Batman possibly being there is enough to get criminals caught, in a way, foil their plans. But he walks on the scene like he's the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. Super loud boots. I'm not so sure that the sneaking in the night thing, that aspect of Batman really translates to crazy loud boot stomp. But, you know what? I thought that Batman did pretty well. I like his gadgets. He had these contact lenses, similar to mine, but red and able to record everything you see when you have them on. The tech may not be there in Star Trek, but I thought it was pretty cool. Wayne Tech comes in for the clutch there. His car, actually liked. I like seeing Batman have a Batmobile, not something we're calling the Tumbler that's a modified tank. I like Batman having his toys and them named appropriately. I'm okay with the Batcave being a bat-infested, closed-off subway station. I'm cool with that. His motorcycle, not bad. Actually, the Batman-style motorcycle he has in this, I prefer over the Batpod, which looked like a freaking joke. So in a lot of ways, I'm saying that this is better than The Dark Knight. However, getting into Catwoman, I actually liked Catwoman. Now, I went into this movie thinking that this Zoe, is it Zoe or Zoe? I'm assuming it's Zoe Kravitz, is the final boss of the nepotism level. She is the offspring of Lisa Bonet and Lenny Kravitz. She failed and sucked in X-Men First Class and gets a second comic book character job thanks to her stepdad being Aquaman. And then on getting this gig, has mom leave him. So I'm not expecting a whole lot from her, but I thought this was the best Catwoman yet. I liked the way her costume looks. It was practical. It made sense to me. She had character to her. She was driven, but there was no gray area about her. This was Catwoman good in this movie, not Catwoman bad, not Catwoman questionable. I'm totally okay with that for the story they're trying to tell here. Penguin, Colin Farrell as Penguin. Really, he's bloated Robert De Niro. There's no other way to put it. I don't think that his character needed to be in this movie. I didn't see any reason for him to be called Penguin when only towards the end of his appearance in the film really do you see him waddling because he was kind of shackled up. Then he can get the Penguin nickname. Otherwise call him Cobblepot, Oz, whatever, but they're calling him Penguin before that, and I'm not really sure why. Gordon. Is it Detective Gordon, Lieutenant Gordon? It's not Commissioner Gordon yet. Jeffrey Wright does okay here. But there is something odd coming up in this film where I was getting to think, isn't it kind of weird how like all the good characters, Batman and Alfred aside, seem to be people of color? And then you get a lecture from Catwoman talking about white privilege guys are being taken down. Oh my gosh, we had to go that route. Probably the biggest strike for the movie was just how if there's a person of color, they must be good. White guy bad. The patriarchy. There is that subtext in this. Now we get over to the Riddler. Paul Dano, largely disguised up. As I mentioned, it seems like he's really playing the Hush scenario here. So does this feel like the Riddler? A little bit. I mean, after he kills people in maybe un-Riddler-like fashion, he then leaves some kind of clues. Batman gets them puzzle put together pretty quickly. And that's fine. That's what you need Batman to do, right? But Riddler kind of shows up a bit late. His motivation is understood. I think that the plot doesn't have a ton of holes in it, but you are getting more of a grounded Batman versus crime family type movie. And you don't usually get that. You usually get Batman versus supervillains, and they have some kind of ability / power they've acquired through some means. That's usually what you see in a Batman movie, for better or worse. Riddler here, I think that I don't really care for Paul Dano's performance. He wants to be Heath Ledger's Joker. I think too many other people do. He had a few moments where he got to try to shine, and I didn't really entirely believe in it, but I thought everybody else was strong enough that, and also given really not a whole lot of screen time for Riddler, it didn't take me out of the movie that much. Because like I said, most of this film is sticking with Batman. It is maybe 90% from the perspective of Batman. It is as Batman as it gets. And so I think we had a pretty good Batman outing here. Mild spoilers right here. Riddler gets caught. He's speaking to an unnamed inmate in the Arkham Asylum. And people are thinking, okay, it's probably Joker. But you could see his face. He had some application about it. And he mentioned something. He said, like, we have less of. It's a friend, whatever. I was thinking maybe less faces. Maybe he's Two-Face. He looked a little mangled up over here. Not that that matters a great deal. Whether or not this actor's back, I didn't recognize the voice so much. And I haven't I've looked into anything regarding this movie. Like I said, I've seen poster. There might have been a Super Bowl ad. That's about it. But I'm thinking Two-Face, whether or not he's there for the sequel, which I'm sure will happen. But you know what? The Batman surprised me. It did. I thought that this was, for me, I'm not sure about the best Batman movie right now, but I would say better than The Dark Knight if that's what you're going to compare it to. A lot of the things that I had issues with, I didn't have that big of an issue with once I actually saw the film. And a few things, maybe it is a bit long. I mean, there were 30 minutes of trailer in front of this. It's 3 hours. There's no intermission. I had to get up and pee like it was 1995. I give the Batman 3 out of 4 stars. And you know what? I know you guys aren't here for my opinion. You're like, oh, look, it's somebody who saw the movie that I watched and they agree with me. I want to see what their take is. That's about it. Yeah, I realize now that if anybody is listening to me, it's because of the subject matter and not so much because of me here. Yeah, I try to be ahead of the gang, realizing that the theaters were going away. And instead, it's just kind of like I'm going away with it.
Thank you for watching my son's YouTube station. It's not for everyone, but he tries. Maybe if you bought some merch below, he'll eventually get good at the YouTubing.